Hello, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I am joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, it has been a hectic 24 to 48 hours in Florham Park in Jetsland. In the NFL world, the Jets have finalized, quote-unquote, their official 53-man roster, although there's still a lot of changes being made. They added a few players on the waiver wire today. They're adding players to the practice squad as we speak. Of course, we are tracking all of that on our website. You can check out thejetpress.com. We have our live practice squad and waiver wire tracker that is underway right now. Mike, how are you feeling in the midst of all this NFL roster transaction craziness?
Well, I can't believe that the Jets made, just the worst move in football history. Like, it's crushing to know that Jorg Bernard Converse.
Don't do that. Don't. I thought you were going to actually say an insignificant player.
Well, here's the thing about roster cuts is, yes, every spot counts.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that there are some decisions that I would not have made if I was Darren Muji. If I was Aaron Glenn, I had that same sort of power. We'll get into that because there are moves that I think are more important than others out there.
Of course.
One of them possibly being Jorg Bernard.
No, look, let me disclaimer this in the beginning. Nobody, at least I'm not claiming that the Jets are going to win 5 more games or lose 5 more games because they didn't keep Jorg Bernard. That's
exactly, yes.
It's not the most significant move possible, but it's a decision I disagree with. And I don't like, I hate, you know what I hate this, Mike? I will bitch about it on Twitter. Not even bitch is the wrong word. I'll complain. I'll say, or not even complain. That's also the wrong word. I'll just say I disagree with it. I'll say I don't agree with this decision. People be like, "Whoa, calm down, man. It's not that serious. Not that serious." And I'm like,
yeah, you got a lot of that on the JVC tweets.
And I'm like, bro, I'm calm. I'm less calm now that you're telling me to calm down because I was already I'm not freaking out about
Does that ever work for somebody? Is anything just calm down, bro? Has that ever worked ever?
It's the dumbest shit ever because I'm not freaking out about it. I'm just disagreeing. I could voice my displeasure with a roster decision without it being some referendum on the entire season. Anyway. Sorry.
So we'll get into that. We'll also talk about some new additions because we were talking about Jawan Briggs. We thought that was the end of the Jets making trades. And what do you know? Harrison Phillips ends up coming to town and really changing the shape of the defensive line room.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. You know where to find us on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where we are. And you can subscribe on YouTube. That really helps. Liking the stream, that really helps. 99 cents a month membership, that really helps. All of it helps build this community, promote this community, help us make more great content, make more of those YouTube shorts, which you guys seem to be digging. So it seems like we're going to keep that up. Let's get into 53-man roster talk, both the highs and the lows.
We don't normally do a good promotion here, but let's Brian in chat.
Yes.
CSA, if you are so in the mood, you can donate blood through the New York Blood Center at multiple donor centers in New York and New Jersey. It takes about 45 minutes to donate. You could do so every 2 months. There you go.
Yes. And when you're done, you get a juice box. And you get to like you're 8 years old because they give you apple juice.
Now I kind of want a juice box.
Yeah, to replace that sugar that you lose.
Maybe I know, but I honestly, you got my blood pressure pumping with that Jorg Bernard Converse thing in the beginning. So I might, I don't know. I might use it.
I do. All right. So let's get into it. I want to, if it is okay, Justin, I will pull up first this very handy dandy graphic that we made. That you made.
I was gonna say we made that.
That you made. That I obviously made.
Give me credit.
Justin made. Shows you who's made the roster in green. The IR guys are in light blue, and in purple, those are the guys who are on the practice squad. One thing I want to talk about in particular right now, as you see right there, the defensive tackle room. I want to get into that first because we didn't get to really discuss the Harrison Phillips trade, and this was a point of contention throughout most of the offseason. I'm happy that Leonard Taylor made it because he's a guy, I don't think he's going to be some great defensive tackle, but I like seeing a UDFA get rewarded for improving and showing some stuff, especially this year where they didn't sign any undrafted free agents to their 53-man roster. They cut everybody, Jamal Pritchett, Brandon Smith, everybody that tried out didn't end up making the final roster. So I like seeing Taylor on there. I'm nervous that if they bring in somebody of some repute, he's going to be the first guy on the chopping block. So this may be short-lived, but I'm happy to see him there. And I'm also happy to see Harrison Phillips on the Jets because, let's be honest, we were going through a bunch of defensive tackle options. None of them were very inspiring. Byron Cowart flashed in the preseason and camp. In the camp was what I meant to say. But him as your number 2 defensive tackle, as the run-stuffing defensive tackle, quote-unquote, next to Quinnen Williams, supposed to take some of the pressure off of Quinnen Williams. It's not what you want. It's just not what you want. Harrison Phillips acquired for dirt cheap, a couple 6th-round picks. A guy who has, I know he had some injury issues in Buffalo earlier. He's started every flipping game for the Vikings over the last 3 years. Extremely smart guy, extremely well-respected guy, great leader in the locker room is what everybody from Minnesota seems to be saying. And yeah, he's not going to go and get 8 sacks here like Quinnen Williams, but my goodness, can this guy stuff the run without being an Al Woods, Derek Nottie type just space eater who eats up blocks. He's not a complete zilch in that regard. He's got some athleticism there. This is the kind of signing where, or the kind of addition where, again, they're not going to probably win or lose more games because of Harrison Phillips, but I feel so much more confident right now in the defense based on what they did in this room, bringing in him and Jawan Briggs, keeping Leonard Taylor, keeping Jay Tufele. I'm way more confident in this defensive tackle room than I was even a couple weeks ago.
100%. I wish the Jets made that Phillips trade before, like during the podcast, because they made the Briggs trade while we were recording last week. Yep. And while I like Juwan Briggs, and I think that's a good upside swing on a guy who I think could be a developmental 1-tech or even play some 3-tech, Phillips already is that player. Like he is already a rock solid starting caliber 1-tech defensive tackle, which the Jets did not have. You mentioned Byron Cowart. He is on IR. And actually, I don't know if you saw this, Mike, he's out for the year, Byron Cowart. He was not.
He is out for the year.
He was not given a designation return on his IR transaction. So Byron Cowart is done for the season.
Oh, no, that's terrible.
Yeah, I imagine that is partially why the Jets made these trades for Phillips and Briggs, because they kind of knew that the Cowart injury was maybe more significant than they were letting on, or whatever the situation is. Teams can also only
grand opening, grand closing for Byron Cowart.
It sucks because he was making some headway early in camp, and like you said, he was the favorite coming out of mini camp and going into the early portion of training camp to start alongside Quinnen Williams. But like you also mentioned, he's not really a traditional 1-tech anyway, and he's not a particularly good rotational defensive tackle.
He plays like great value America's choice Quinnen at times.
Yeah, which is not somebody you want starting next to Quinnen, nor is it somebody that you want being a significant part of your defensive tackle rotation. So I think they added some really important pieces to that defensive line room, in especially Phillips, who is one of the better run stuffing defensive tackles in the league. And, you know, he passes, I know you wrote an article about this, he passes the test of, is the fan base that lost him mad that he's no longer on the team? And yes, the Vikings fans were not very happy that Harrison Phillips was traded. They made some really interesting moves on that defensive line.
Even the return too got him pissed off, because the Jets got him a couple 6th-round picks, and he's under contract for next year too.
Yes, he is. And
it's 2 years of quality starting defensive tackle play.
And I don't believe there's any guarantees on his deal next year, and he's under contract for just $3.7 million, or at least what the Jets are paying in 2025. So excellent piece of business by Darren Muji. Can't be upset about that. Briggs is in that room. Jay Tufele made the roster, which was kind of expected after he didn't play in that final preseason game. And then Leonard Taylor is still sticking around. I think there's a chance he ends up being one of those final cuts, because the Jets did claim 3 players, which we'll get to shortly. I think there's a chance Taylor ends up being one of those cuts to get them back to 53. But if not, he is on the 53 right now. I don't know if he'll be active on game days, but I do think out of everyone in that defensive tackle room, he probably has the second highest pass rush upside of anybody not named Quinnen. Or I guess the highest pass rush upside of anybody not named Quinnen. So I'm happy he was able to stick around in some capacity. And then as of now, they brought back Peyton Page, undrafted rookie out of Clemson, onto their practice squad. Another guy who they could develop as a rotational 3-tech, possibly in a similar mold to Leonard Taylor. I'm happy with the room. I wish they made the Phillips trade last week, so we could have gone more in depth. But let's Mike, do you have anything more to add to that defensive tackle?
Not the defensive tackle room, but I do have an idea of what room I want to talk about next.
I was going to suggest that we go in order. I was going to suggest we go quarterback, running back, all that.
Well, I was going to suggest wide receiver, because really the only...
All right, we can start. We can do that.
Really the only things with the quarterback and running back were kind of mild, in that there was Brady Cook or Adrian Martinez. We like Martinez, but he didn't really separate that much. It seems they prefer Brady Cook. He's your third quarterback. Whoop-de-frickin' do.
Well, do you think they bring back Martinez as well on the practice squad?
I don't think so.
I think it's possible. I think Martinez showed enough that they might keep him around. I mean, they already have used, I think, around 11 practice squad spots that only have about like 6 left. But I think it wouldn't be the worst thing to bring him back, especially given the fact that Justin Fields has a tendency to take a lot more hits than your average quarterback. He's not only somebody who runs the ball a lot, but he takes a lot of sacks.
And Tyrod Taylor's hurt.
And then Tyrod Taylor is banged up. He's got the knee injury. He has an extensive injury history. would not be opposed to bringing back Martinez in the practice squad as well. Or if not, maybe they run with 3 going into the year, and then if an injury happens, they bring in Martinez, assuming he's not scooped up another team. But yeah, are you surprised that it's Cook over Martinez?
Mildly, but they did seem pretty even. Like every time Martinez was like, oh, he's gonna pull away, then he'd throw a pick, and then Cook, oh, every time Cook's gonna pull away, then he'd struggle.
Yeah.
It never really separated. Very much a coin flip. And then for running backs, no Donovan Edwards. I'd imagine.
Not yet. He could still be added to the practice squad. He just has not been announced yet. He was not seen at Jets practice today, so nothing official.
I believe in freedom. You're 2 nerds that haven't even played with shit, and you're always criticizing players. Shut up.
I didn't even see that.
Either get out of your mom's basement because she's been calling you for a while because the pizza rolls are ready. So either go get that, or if you're one of those old decrepit guys in the retirement home, tell the nurse to put the computer away and let us do our show.
He said playing Madden doesn't make an athlete. I haven't played Madden in years, bro. I don't play Madden. I don't know what you're talking about.
Either. I watch football, which apparently I believe in freedom doesn't. Yeah. So let's go on to talk about the running backs and the receivers. Because
hold on, Mike. It's possible that that's Malachi Corley's burn.
Yes, it is. By the way, Malachi Corley is now a Cleveland Brown. He's on their practice squad, which is very depressing because that receiver room is rancid. And he couldn't even make that.
That's the worst receiver room in the NFL. I was holding on to my last bit of Deontay Johnson stock going into the summer.
And he couldn't make that.
He was still on my dynasty team. He was one of the original members of my dynasty team. And I was like, man, I just got to hold on and hope. It was a perfect opportunity. He could be wide receiver 3. And then he got beaten out by Jamari Thrash and didn't even make the roster. And now I'm very sad because that's it. That's it for my Deontay Johnson stock.
See, now here's the thing. God, that guy got me riled up. I don't know why. I got to recenter here. Like, did you see that tweet? We were talking about this before the show. I hope people watching the show see this too. Jordan Schultz had that tweet. Well, Malachi Corley just needed a change of scenery. He was in a bad. I'm like, a change of scenery?
1 year?
He was in the league a year. Barely did anything. What do you mean a change of scenery?
I think they said he was a poor scheme.
He needs a change of scenery to the employment line is what he needs.
2 different coaching staffs.
He'll be if he goes back to Kentucky, he will sell the most American family insurance. He will dominate there. He will clean up the rest of the Toyota dealers in the Kentucky area.
The fact of the matter is 2 different coaching staffs have taken a look at Malachi Corley at the NFL level and determined that he was probably wide receiver 9 or so in that wide receiver room. And going into this year, especially in one of the worst receiver rooms in the NFL. I mean, he was running with the 3rd-team offense the entire summer. And based on that report that we didn't get to talk about because this came out afterwards, but that report from Connor Hughes where Corley apparently refused to play special teams as a rookie because he was convinced that he was a starting receiver and was not happy. There's also the whole Devontae Adams thing where he asked him for like $120,000 of jersey. I don't really care that much about that. I care more about you're a rookie 3rd-round pick who isn't good enough to beat out Jason Brownlee for snaps, and you are asking and you're refusing to play special teams. That's pretty crazy to me.
Quentin Skinner thoroughly outplayed him from the jump.
Easily. There were, I think, 12 wide receivers on the roster for the Jets this summer. The only 2 I feel comfortable saying that Corley was ahead of were Daimir Miller, who was one of the first 6 roster cuts. He was a undrafted rookie who was bottom of the roster, and Pokey Wilson, who was a CFL guy they signed.
His name is Pokey.
His name is Pokey. Yeah. Oh, I did love that his name
wasn't Gumby's horse Pokey.
I have no idea.
I think it might have been, yeah.
I do love that his name is Ontario Wilson, and he played in Canada. Ontario.
That's a bit of a stretch.
It's 1 letter off. I don't think it's that much of a stretch. But anyway, those are the only guys I feel comfortable saying Corley was ahead of on the depth chart this summer. So yeah, and I said this to you right before we went live, Mike. I will predict right now, I don't think Malachi Corley appears in another NFL game. I know he just signed the practice squad. I don't think he plays in another NFL game unless the Browns have like a rash of wide receiver injuries. And even then, is he even a wide receiver? Because I wouldn't even call him that. I don't know what he is.
So back to the bet. No Donovan Edwards. He's not in the practice squad right now. Assuming, like as Justin informed me before the show, that it's kind of like Brandon Smith, or Brandon Smith is not on the practice squad right now. I'd imagine he may have offers elsewhere. He's trying to see where things are, and then if not, he'll probably revert to the Jets practice squad. So good preseason, but didn't end up making it. The receiver room got a lot of people's panties in a twist because they decided to keep Xavier Gibson.
I don't like that phrase. Don't say
that. Too bad I already said it. They got Xavier Gibson as the 6th wide receiver. They only kept 6. The first 5, now that we knew Lazard wasn't getting cut, the first 5 seemed like locks. I don't think anybody has any problems with that. Then Gibson comes in pretty much exclusively for special teams, for returning ability. They did not keep Brandon Smith or Quentin Skinner or Jamal Pritchett, and Pritchett is the one that, again, the Jets are not going to win or lose any more games because they kept Xavier Gibson over Jamal Pritchett. And I'm young enough to remember on this very show that we were very happy once that Xavier Gibson, as an undrafted free agent, had made the Jets. And then now 2 years later, people are calling for his head. So
hey, to be fair,
I don't want to be too reactive about Pritchett not making it. But if I were Aaron Glenn or Darren Muji, I would probably have picked him over Gibson.
To be fair, they did literally win a game because of their punt returner 2 years ago, and it was Xavier Gibson.
Yeah,
they did not win that game without Xavier Gibson.
That was the Rodgers. Imagine how depressed we would be if the Rodgers Achilles game happened and they lost it.
Imagine they lost because of a walk-off punt return touchdown.
Oh, they did one, Marcus Jones. So.
Imagine the despair. I mean, it was already despair, but it was like, but also on the flip side, imagine if Rodgers played that whole game and was healthy, and that's how they beat the Bills week 1. Like, I don't want to.
Oh my God, they're building the statue already.
I don't want to think about it, but yeah, there were definitely some surprises in this wide receiver room. Really, just one. I will say, once we kind of knew that Lazard was not going to start the year on IR, and that he was expected to be ready for week 1. He's dealing with a shoulder injury, but it does seem like he'll be ready for the start of the season. It became clear that Brandon Smith and Quentin Skinner probably didn't have a shot. I don't think Skinner really had much of a shot to begin with. He was probably always going to be a practice squad guy, and I know like a lot of people loved what Quentin Skinner did this summer, and I get that. He honestly is a very intriguing developmental guy, good size speed blend, but a lot of rosters have a guy like Quentin Skinner on them, and I was not particularly concerned about him getting claimed on waivers. I don't blame the Jets for that. I would have liked to see Brandon Smith stick around, if only because just merit alone. Like, I think it's a bad look when you cut guys like Smith, Skinner, and Pritchett, who I would argue were their 3 top wide receivers this summer outside of Garrett Wilson. It's a bad look for a wide receiver room that is one of the worst in the league to cut 3 of your best performers from the summer. And Smith, I think, is somebody who probably you could have found a roster spot for. Now, I don't know if he's going to be back in the practice squad. He was not seen at Jets practice today. I believe there's a practice squad spot offer out there for him if he would like to take it. I have a feeling he's fielding offers from other teams. I don't know if it's like a 53-man roster offer from another team, but I do think that there are other teams where he might receive a better opportunity, because now it's 2 years in a row where he's had a great preseason and hasn't been given anything in the regular season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was not back with the Jets, which would be unfortunate. But they were able to bring back Skinner and Pritchett, who are both in the practice squad. Look, man, if Gibson muffs 2 punts this year, that's it. Like once he muff 1, fine, whatever. That's your first strike. Second strike, it's better be Jamal Pritchett time. I don't want this to be a situation like last year where the Jets had Kenny Nwangwu sitting on their practice squad for half the year, for more than half the year, while they had Xavier Gibson returning kicks, and he was terrible at it. And they finally,
I think his first game, right?
Literally his first game. I was there. It was the Seahawks game, and I was like, he's going to take one of these back, because former All-Pro
Seahawks, Justin, they just put Chaz Surratt in their 53-man. So
I did see that. Is there any connection there? I don't think there's any. Is there like a Jet staffer that went there or no? Because I know, obviously, no Saleh over. Saleh, by the way, cold business. He cut his favorite dude, and Brant Boyer's in San Francisco as well.
He cut who? Bruce Hector or
no? Surratt. Surratt was in
Surratt. Oh yeah,
yeah. Surratt was in San Francisco, and you had Saleh and Brant Boyer there. I felt like that's a lock. Like that should have been a lock to make it 53. Apparently not. But yeah, if Gibson falters at all to start the year, man, it better be Jamal Pritchett time, because I know Aaron Glenn told reporters that, today that, hey, we don't see all the practices, and that's true. But based on everything we heard coming out of not just preseason, because we all saw the preseason, but even reports out of camp were like, Pritchett is outperforming Gibson in every possible way. And also, Gibson had some muffs this summer too. So I don't get at all. I don't understand, based on merit, how Xavier Gibson makes this roster over Jamal Pritchett. But Pritchett is still here. If Gibson messes up at all, it better be Jamal Pritchett season.
Delonte, your to be fair is the only thing keeping Gibson on the roster, like your justification of the punt return. And then again, Delonte, hope I'm saying that correctly. If we don't get a wide receiver too and cut Lazard after week 1, which I don't think that'll happen, maybe Lazard, a little later. Lazard elevated Pritchett. I'd imagine Pritchett would be the first guy who gets elevated.
I think it'd be Skinner. I think it would be Skinner.
Really?
I think they view Pritchett as the 1-to-1 Gibson replacement. I don't see if Gibson is on the team, I don't think Pritchett is on the team.
I think Pritchett's just a better receiver.
I agree.
Skinner too.
I agree. I 100% agree, but I also don't think he's a better receiver than Skinner. Like, I think Skinner showed more this summer. If Brandon Smith's on the practice squad,
because I remember Pritchett was not just a random guy. He had legitimate pre-draft hype.
Yeah. Went to Kansas. Went to, Power 4 school, I guess. It's not a very good one.
South Alabama is where he went.
Oh, Pritchett. I think went to
Pritchett, I think it was a Senior Bowl invite too.
Yes. No, I think we're talking about Skinner. Skinner was Kansas.
Yep.
Pritchett led the Sun Belt in receiving last year at South Alabama. He wasn't like a no name by any means, but I mean, it could also be Brandon Smith, by the way. If Brandon Smith does come back in a practice squad, I think he'd be ahead of both Skinner and and Pritchett, but to be determined. We'll see.
The tight ends, they make a new acquisition on waivers. One of 3 guys added, like Jelani Woods, formerly of the Indianapolis Colts. Mm-hmm. Do you want the pessimist or optimistic take first?
Let's start with the optimism. I'm a happy guy.
At his best, Jelani Woods, I think, can replace Ruckert as tight end too, if he's healthy.
Yes.
Because he has missed 2 straight years with injuries. He has not played since 2022. Mm-hmm. So we're talking Daniel Jones was winning playoff games and Jamal Williams was leading the league in rushing touchdown. That's how long ago it was since we saw him on a football.
By the way, speaking of tight ends, the Dolphins just added Greg Dulcich to their practice squad, and he's probably the best tight end in that room. I mean, I don't know what I mean.
They also got Juju Brents, who I think is their best cornerback now too.
Right. That says a lot about the state of those tight end and cornerback rooms.
So this guy, 6'7", 260, huge guy, runs really well too. 4.6 speed. I liked his hands.
Oh, insane athlete!
Athlete.
Didn't he have like the highest RAS
until Zach Kuntz broke it?
That's right.
And that leads into the other tape. Now, if we get 2022, if Quantum Leap, if any older fans, we have some older guys here. If any older fan remember the show Quantum Leap, where the guy would just jump in other people's bodies in different timelines, if that guy, 2022 Jelani Woods, ends up in 2025, I think that player is better than Jeremy Ruckert, and I think he's your tight end too, behind Mason Taylor. Now, the negative take, of course, is, as we mentioned, it's been 2 entire years, which may as well be a decade in NFL lingo for how long ago it is, since we even saw him play, let alone be above average. And Zach Kuntz, I think, is really sticking in the crawl of a good subset of Jets fans saying, well, RAS isn't everything, because both of them set the RAS record for tight ends. One of them looked okay originally, but he kept getting hurt. And then Kuntz just is unfortunately not an NFL player, it looks like. He's just a good RAS guy, a good workout warrior. So this signing could really go both ways. I don't think he's active week 1. I think they kind of ease him into it. I think Ruckert will be around for that. I think Stone Smart will be around for that. But because of how he plays, I think it's much more likely that you see Ruckert end up getting the axe for Woods than Stone Smart.
Well, the interesting thing is right now they're rostering 5 tight ends, and all 5.
Beck's a fullback, but
if we're including Andrew Beck in that conversation, they're rostering all 5 of those guys, and all 5 of them were at practice this today. It seems like the 3 waiver wire additions they made, like none of the cuts are going to be in the tight end room. So they're going to keep 4 tight ends plus Andrew Beck going into week 1, at least as of right now.
This is 1970s football, man.
They're going to run the ball. The Jets are being very transparent that they are going to run the shit out of the ball this year.
Because they want to, or because they can't pass is the question. That'll break the season.
Well, I think it's we signed Justin Fields knowing both of those things would be the case. Like that, we're probably going to struggle throwing the ball, but hell, man, we can build around this ground game. I think that was the idea there.
Did they hire Rex? I don't know.
I really like the Woods pickup. I know there's, he hasn't played since 2022. I will say with the injuries, it's not like he's like torn his Achilles 2 years in a row. He had, I believe, hamstring injuries in 2023.
I'm going to stop you right there. This sounds exactly like what you said about Mike Williams when they signed Mike Williams.
What did I say? I don't remember what I said.
Well, it's like he's not injury prone. These injuries aren't repellent. And then he got hurt a bunch and sucked anyway with the Jets.
Oh, he just sucked with the Jets. He wouldn't even. I don't even think he got hurt. He was just cooked. His body was cooked by that point.
Well, it lends in. I mean, I imagine the injuries may have sapped some of Woods's effectiveness.
Possible. He's a lot younger than Williams. Williams had back injuries dating back to college. That also kind of cooked his body earlier. With Woods, I believe it was hamstring injuries in 2023 and then turf toe last year. Those aren't things that cook your body in theory, right? Obviously, maybe, he could be more prone to injuries. I don't know. If he gets another soft tissue hamstring injury this year, then yeah, maybe he is. But I'm not concerned about his body being broken down yet. He's also 25 or whatever he is. He's still very young. Former 3rd-round pick out of Virginia, 6'7", 253, I think he is.
Big dude.
Crazy size. You'd like him to probably be a better blocker for a guy as big as he is. He's not really
still okay at it.
He's capable. And I will say capable is literally better than anything they have in that room other than Mason Taylor.
Perfectly in the middle of across tight end blockers.
Which means he's already a better blocker than Jeremy Ruckert. And I don't think anybody would argue the fact that he's not a better receiver than Jeremy Ruckert. So I will say right now, I don't care what version of him we're getting unless he's completely cooked, which I saw some of his preseason tape. I saw his preseason stats. He's better than Jeremy Ruckert. I already think he's the second best tight end in this roster. I don't know if the Jets will use him in that way or immediately. Like you said, Mike, I probably expect him to be inactive week 1 just because, he just joined the team. He's got to learn the playbook and all that stuff. And Ruckert is the incumbent and he's there. But I am interested to see that if they do, once they do activate Woods and they do get him involved in the offense, who that's at the expense of. It could be Ruckert. Could also be Stone Smart because I think Woods is more of a receiving threat than a blocker at this stage. And for whatever reason,
Woods at his potential is better at both of those traits than both
absolutely
and Rucker, but we just don't know what he is right now.
For whatever reason, Jeremy Ruckert still has this narrative that he's a blocking tight end, even though he had he ranked 73rd out of 74 qualifiers. And
I think it's because he was not a receiving threat at Ohio State. Yeah. Really? So because he's not a receiving threat in the NFL, they're like, well, they're keeping him around because obviously it's because he's a good blocker. That's the only reason they're keeping him around. But
the narrative was
there we go. He's not a good blocker either.
The narrative coming out of Ohio State was that he was a good blocker with like a significant room to grow as a receiver. That was the narrative for him coming out of Ohio State, which is weird because again, I've said this before on the show. I played against him in high school. He was a wide receiver in high school. He wasn't even a tight end. He was a wide receiver.
Going that far back in advanced.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there that like he wasn't really blocking in high school.
I mean, there are DBs that were quarterbacks in high school.
I'm aware, Mike, but I'm saying that it's not like he has this extensive blocking resume before he even got to Ohio State. So whatever reputation he earned, it's because
I think the Senior Bowl, for some reason, he just crushed it there, and they thought,
But we've seen none of that potential as a receiver. We've seen no upside as a receiver. Like I honestly, he doesn't even look like the same player that I saw at Ohio State, where like he was making one-handed grabs at Ohio State. We haven't seen any of that.
I think he's in his head too a little bit. Like
possibly, it's very possible. But either way, I think Jelani Woods has a very strong chance to be tight end 2 before long. It is interesting. This tells me they're probably going to use Beck mostly as a true fullback, as opposed to being a tight end if they do carry all 5 of these guys on the roster, which is not a bad thing. Again, I do think Beck is probably their best blocker right now, their best blocking tight end. But I'm not opposed to it. And I know a lot of people threw out Woods as a potential target, so I'm happy to see those Jets fans that were, looking at the big names in the waiver wire. They got their wish, and the Jets did claim Jelani Woods.
So this offensive line, they keep 10. New addition to Esa Pole or Pole?
Pole. Esa Pole.
Two syllables. Okay. Yep. Esa Pole. So he's the new addition. He was with Kansas City, I believe, in the preseason. They bring him over from the Chiefs, which I don't know, but the Jets, no Packers and no Chiefs for a year or two, I think might be good for them because they don't seem to be having the best ROI.
Hey, they got 2 guys from the Chiefs. They also got Cam Jones also from the Chiefs.
Yeah, and the 2 guys they got beforehand, one quit half the year and one was going to get cut immediately. And they somehow got a pick for Derek Nottie, which I think is good for Darren Muji. The Chiefs signed somebody else too. They got another Brett Veach guy back. Like how he keeps just bringing all the old Chiefs back.
Oh, they bring back?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They brought.
Yeah, they did. Well, you know who else? You know who made the Chiefs 53-man roster? Jason Brownlee.
Oh, okay.
Jason Brownlee made their 53.
And now he gets Patrick Mahomes. So that'll just be better than Zach Wilson for what we know.
Well, no, Rashee Rice. Maybe he's probably gonna be healthy scratch. Again, it's the problem of just he doesn't play specials, so he probably won't play. But
2 things on this room. One of them related to the roster, one of them not.
Okay.
Related to the roster, Aaron Glenn. It's still undecided who the center is, bro. I like you, Aaron Glenn. Please, I'm begging you not. This is the one thing. Even Brandon Stevens. I'm letting that slide because Brandon Stevens has been supposedly crushing it.
Yeah, he's looked good. He's had a good summer.
He's looked good. This is the one thing I can't justify, and he keeps going on with it.
There's no reason at this state, like at this point, I had kind of copied my way through it as like, well, clearly they promised Josh Myers this and they wanted to sign him. So they're like, hey, look,
why don't they like Joe Tippmann?
You can compete for the starting job. Like that's how I've been copying my way through this. It's August 27th. Training camp's over. Preseason's over.
They play Aaron Rodgers in a week and a half.
Roster cuts have happened. You can announce the starting center. You don't have to keep pretending.
There's no gamesmanship there, you know.
At that point, that tells me it's probably a legit, real competition, and they are genuinely deciding between these guys. Now, the people that I keep, like, there's been one.
You don't have Myers in your thing, by the way, so I think they kept 11 linemen.
Oh, whoops.
That's how much you dislike Josh Myers.
My bad. I actually forgot.
You didn't even put him in the list.
Whoops. Yeah, look. Oh, now I'm gonna be in my head as I'm doing this. Yeah, well, there were some surprises here in this room, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But the common what's the I guess counter argument to let it play out has been like, Joe Tippmann has had his snapping struggles this summer. He's had it once again because he did last year as well. Although it's easy to like, people keep bringing that up. It was not a big issue during the regular season. I don't remember him having snapping issues during the season.
And that might have been just Rodgers being particular about things.
It was a talking point in the summer. And once again, there's been a few errant snaps this summer, so I get it. It was not an issue last year. Joe Tippmann was a top 10 center in the NFL, borderline top 10 or center. You could, if you want to argue he was 12, whatever. He was a very good player last year. Second year offensive lineman, arguably their best offensive lineman on the entire roster last year. It's insane to me that he's still competing with a guy who has been one of the worst centers in football over the last few years. Now, I think Josh Myers
might move him to guard, but if they're moving him as like the John Simpson replacement, they're going to need a new center anyway because Myers on a 1-year deal.
The new copium that I have, Mike, is that John Simpson missed practice today. He's not practicing. I believe it's back injury related. I assume he'll be ready for week 1. But my new copium is obviously when Simpson is not playing, Josh Myers is playing center. Tippmann is running at left guard, which is what's happening in practice today. It was Tippmann at left guard and Myers at center.
Which I don't mind that at all.
No, I don't mind that. I still don't think that'd be I don't think moving Tippmann to guard and playing Myers at center is better than just starting Xavier Newman at left guard. I think Xavier Newman is roughly the same tier of player as Myers, maybe a tad below him. I don't think there's
that's the thing. Myers is their 6th best offensive lineman. So
barely.
If one of them misses, they have to put him in, I guess.
No, you don't.
Well, yeah, you do.
What if their best backup was a tackle and their center got hurt? You got to reshuffle the whole line to get that tackle in there? No, you played a guy who could play in a position. I don't think Xavier Newman is significantly worse than Josh Myers.
Fashanu at right guard for a little bit last year.
Yeah, and it was terrible. It was stupid. He played terrible. I mean, it wasn't stupid. They had like 10 injuries. I forget what happened with that, but there were a lot of injuries that piled up. Obviously, desperate time calls for desperate measures. Xavier Newman played center for the Jets his first year, and he never snapped the ball in his life. Shit happens, but in a perfect world, if only one offensive lineman is hurt, I don't see a need that you have to force Josh Myers onto the field. But either way, outside of that, there are currently 11 offensive linemen on the active roster. Obviously, that will not be the case. Also, I just noticed I did this.
Xavier Newman is
Thank you. There are currently 11 offensive linemen on the active roster. That is not going to be the case going into week 1. The big surprise was Marquise Hayes. That was probably the most shocking addition to the 53-man roster. I don't think there's a person alive that had their Jets 53-man roster prediction, including Marquise Hayes. Now, this is not meant to be a shot at Marquise Hayes, who actually had a very good preseason. In fact, I shouted him out a couple of days ago for being one of their more underrated performers. He had a team high 88 PFF pass block grade. He was very good. But he worked exclusively with the third team offense, both in camp and the preseason, behind guys like Cole Laval, who were, he was signed to the practice squad. So it was definitely a surprise when Hayes made it, former 7th round pick out of Oklahoma. I don't think he's on the week 1 roster, especially after they added Esapole. But is there a world where instead of cutting Hayes, maybe the Jets realize they don't need to carry 3 backup offensive tackles and they say, hey, Max Mitchell, goodbye.
That's what I was thinking. I think if they cut a guy, it's going to come from the offensive line. I think it's Max Mitchell.
Okay. I think I still lean Hayes. I think Mitchell gives them tackle guard versatility. So they like that.
Tackle guard versatility, but versatility nonetheless.
He's not good. It's funny when people say versatile and
versatile offensive lineman means bad.
Hey, not always. Elgton Jenkins is.
How many Bruce Matthews are out there where they can be all pros everywhere?
Elgton Jenkins. Zach Tom, I think, could play like guard too, and Patrick McCary. You know, there's a few options.
Well, Patrick McCary is like the one where it's like, I'm a Swiss Army knife lineman.
Right. And he actually is.
And he actually, there's
Max
very
Mitchell
few of those guys around. So that's another thing. If you ever see, we always talk about signifiers. If a skill position player needs a change of scenery, he sucks. If you sign a player and the first thing all the insiders put out is former first-round pick, then he sucks. And if they talk about an offensive lineman's versatility immediately, then he sucks. Those are the three signifiers of you signed a bad player, and you're trying to figure out some way it can work out.
Interesting take here from Brian. He said Josh Myers could be a frequent sixth offensive lineman like Dan Feeney. Dan Feeney, the legend, was. Keeping him in rotation with the starting offense can help him stay in tune with Membu, even if he isn't practicing on his outside shoulder. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess you probably Vera Tucker, right? Because Vera Tucker would be the right guard.
Vera Tucker would be the right,
yeah. But yeah, I look, I'm not going to throw a fit if John Simpson misses time and Josh Myers is starting instead of Xavier Newman. I'm saying I don't think I would do that. I like Xavier Newman. Maybe I'm an Xavier Newman stan. But put that down.
Another as friend of the show because we lost a couple.
That's true. That's true. We lost Sharpenot Converse. We lost Thomas Morstead. We're losing our friends here.
Still got Sauce though.
Hopefully he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
And his wild Twitter activity. My goodness.
What was he done anything crazy recently?
Oh, no, all right. It's related to his hot ones.
Oh, you sent it to me. You sent this to me.
Yeah.
What's funny is actually, just a quick side note. So I made a joke because congratulations to the happy couple. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift got engaged. Whatever. I made
overshadowing the Jet Press podcast. Don't you guys have any idea what day it is?
Zero consideration for our feelings here. But I made
please wait till next week.
I see what Brian was saying. He was saying playing Myers at
like a jumbo package guy. Okay.
Yeah, they could do that. Yeah. They could totally do that. I wonder if they would use Myers as that guy, but I wouldn't be opposed if they did. You can honestly just Jelani Woods is like the size of an offensive line. You could put him there now.
They should have got Darnell Washington from the Steelers is what they should have done.
They could have got they could have got Dan Skipper. Did Dan Skipper get
he's on the practice squad with the Lions.
He's signed with the Lions practice.
Probably one of those, handshake agreement things.
But anyway, no, I was saying I made a tweet. I was like, Sauce Gardner needs to respond to this Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift announcement, and he's got to propose to Ice Spice. And then I was flooded. My mentions were flooded with people saying they broke up, and I was like, this is how I find out. My world is shaken, Mike. I didn't know that Sauce Gardner and Ice Spice allegedly had broken up. And then Sauce Gardner tweeted out that thing where he made a very suggestive
I think that was the main takeaway a lot of people had from that
tweet.
This
was my takeaway, and it was a very suggestive tweet. And I was like, oh, they're still together. Mike, love wins. Love prevails. This is great news.
Oh, bless your heart for that being what your mind defaulted to.
That was my takeaway. Well, I understood.
The way you said it. Oh, it was just my takeaway, man.
That was my takeaway. That was my takeaway from Sauce's tweet. We should break it down, analyze.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, so let's get a bit more G-rated here.
Let's go to defensive line
and talk about the defensive line. Here's the riddle, because we talked about defensive tackle a little bit when talking about Harrison Phillips. The weird thing about this is I think, like we mentioned before, Mitchell's probably a good cut candidate if they want to add somebody. If they want to add somebody on defense, I think the subtraction comes, well, it's going to be Zaire Barnes first.
Sure.
But after that, I think it'll be either Braden McGregor or Leonard Taylor.
Agreed.
Now, I think Leonard Taylor is a considerably better football player than Braden McGregor. The problem is, unless they add another edge, I can't see this team going into the year with 4 edge rushers on their active roster, one of whom is Tyler Baramich. If he was not a 5th-round pick, he would have been cut. If he was a 6th-round pick, they would have cut him.
I'll say this. I don't think Tyler Barron's roster spot is safe either. I think
is that a fair statement, Justin?
If he was a 6th-round pick,
if he was a 6th-round pick, I think he's cut.
Maybe. Yeah, possibly. The issue is they had nobody.
I like the guy, but he showed me nothing. So I think because of that, I think McGregor might have a little more roster safety than Leonard Taylor. And I don't love it, but like we talked about all offseason, outside of Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, who were both really good starters, I mean, look at that defensive end room, man.
Thinking of it now, honestly, I know before the show when we were talking about this briefly, I said McGregor was more likely to get cut. I actually think it might be Taylor because I don't think if we got to week 1 right now, I don't think Leonard Taylor would be active on the game day roster. I do, however, think that Braden McGregor would be active because I think Tyler Barron would be inactive. So I think because of that, the cut is either going to be Leonard Taylor or it could be Tyler Barron. Eagles, by the way, just signed Audric Estime to the practice squad. Damn, that was one of my guys.
They always get those guys.
Dude, him and Javon Baker, big misses. I loved both of those guys. That's
I
brutal,
liked Estime.
brutal
I
misses.
was not on Baker. Estime, I was not a huge fan of, but he should have gone higher than he went. But
I'm surprised that Estime has not done anything in the NFL. And he fumbled his first snap, and the Broncos were like, "Well, we're never going to trust you again."
he's just a guy from a different age, man. They're not making that many backs like that anymore.
Yeah,
Those like
yeah,
plodding, slow guys.
for sure. But yeah, I think that I don't think Tyler Barron's roster spot is fully safe. If we're looking at this roster right now, the Jets made 3 additions via the waiver wire. I think the 3 cuts are going to be Zaire Barnes. I feel fairly confident saying Zaire Barnes, which, hey, credit to him. Shout out to him for making 53. I don't think anyone expected that. I don't think he's going to be on the active roster come week 1. I think it'll be, they brought in Cam Jones, obviously from the Chiefs, so he will be that guy. I think they're going to cut an offensive lineman, whether that's Marquise Hayes or Max Mitchell. It's probably one of those two. And in the third one, since they're not cutting a tight end, I'm assuming it's coming in this defensive line room, and I'll predict right now it's Leonard Taylor, but wouldn't be surprised if it was Tyler Barron. I'd actually be more surprised. No, would I be more surprised if it was McGregor than Barron? I don't know. They're both in the same tier to me. I think
they're both not very good.
I think McGregor is better than Barron, or at least he had a better summer. I think McGregor.
We don't know what Barron is.
Yeah, McGregor was their best, like a rotational edge player fighting for a spot in the summer, which is not saying much because no one really showed anything, but at least McGregor showed something. Another like Kingsley Jonathan probably outplayed Tyler Barron, like guys like that.
I don't like that guy because of his name. It keeps weirding me. I kept thinking it was Jonathan Kingsley.
I always see people saying Jonathan Kingsley, and it actually makes me mad because I'm like, you're intentionally switching it around. Like it says.
Well,
Kingsley.
did that. I remember they did that with Kiki Kingsley or Kingsley Kiki, the old.
You used it right there.
Yeah, I did it right there for the. I think he played for the Packers. I want to say.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
yeah, Kingsley sounds like a last name. I don't know.
But how are you feeling about? I know we talked about the defensive tackle room. We're a lot better about that. How do you feel about this DN room?
Not very good. This and the wide receiver room were, and I've said this before. This specific quote, or at least paraphrased it. Like you can't overturn everything in one offseason. You can't fix everything. And they've spent a lot of resources fixing specifically now the defensive tackle room with Harrison Phillips and Briggs and Tufele, and fixing the tight end room and improving the offensive line. Those are all things that need to be improved. This is where you got to take your lumps for a year. Wide receiver and pass rusher. And like I think if you were going to ask me right now, if they don't, the top 3 picks, because it's probably going to be a quarterback, because I don't think Fields, as we mentioned before, is probably going to be good enough where there's a debate, like, do we take him or a quarterback?
Well, there's going to be a debate. It's
going to be really
never
bad.
Easy. You said this before, like, it's going to be a situation where Fields is just good enough to win like 6 games this year and, do a
2-1 touchdown to interception, run for a bunch of yards.
Yeah, flash just enough that there's going to be.
Oh, he had Josh Reynolds, wide receiver too. How would he expect him to do there? Like,
I am interested though. I think there'll be less of an allegiance to Fields than guys like Wilson and Darnold, who were Jets draft picks, and Rodgers, who was like the franchise savior. I think Fields, most Jets fans aren't expecting him to be the guy. So I think less people are going to be
he's just so splashy where
he is.
Like he'll do like a crazy 50-yard touchdown run, and then every time you post something critical, Fields are going to send that clip. You want to get rid of this? Like he's
an easy guy to root for too. Like
I want him. Everybody loves him so far in the Jets.
I want to see him succeed. I do think there will be a debate about it at the end of the year, but my prediction now is that it will not be. You will not have nearly as many people on the pro Field side as you did Wilson, even if Fields is better than Wilson. Like
as Austrian Jet fan with another 20 memberships.
Oh man, what a Austrian Jets fan!
What a guy! You're the man,
dude. We have to do a show in Vienna.
We have to. Yes, we have to. You gotta come over, Austrian Jet fan.
You're the man.
Again, we salute you.
Absolutely. Shout out Austria.
Shout out Austria.
Do I have my Austrian
I am part Austrian too. So
do I have my Austrian flag in the background somewhere?
I'm sure you do.
It's there.
You lived right next to it.
It's right there. It's right.
How'd you not go there once?
Wait, that's it right there. See it right there.
Yes.
Okay.
Carmen San Diego over here.
It's behind this. Sorry, there it is. It's next to the Belgian flag for those who know flags. Anyway, go on.
Carmen San Diego. So thank you, Austrian Jet fan. Now, outside of quarterback, the 2 spots where I think they're going to spend a ton of draft capital are defensive end and wide receiver. And I think that's not going to change throughout the entire year. I think, and really, I don't think there's an immediate plan to like, oh, we could trade for this guy. I think they're just going to say, Jermaine and Will, you're the man. Michael Clemens and Brady McGregor hold it down for a year, and then at the end of this year, we'll reevaluate things.
Which, by the way,
ready, but that's what they got to do.
I know a lot of people wanted Michael Clemens to get cut and are very much like, get this guy off my team. He's your best backup defensive end.
He's much better than McGregor or Barron right now.
I don't even think it's close, which is crazy.
Yeah,
I think he's normally he's a fringe roster player on most teams.
I think he's improved. Slightly.
Has he? I thought he was better as a rookie than he was any.
No, I mean like from last year to this year.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm hearing more good things about him.
We'll see. Well, who knows? A lot of it's just
maybe he's scaring people into.
Yeah, a lot of it's just coach speak. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, if he gets anything, like if he's any kind of production, hopefully at least with a reduced role, he'll be better.
You go and say he's not playing pretty well in front of him.
I will not.
See what happens.
I will not.
Because I value my
As
life.
That guy said earlier, I am a nerd who's never played football. So
yeah, he'll squash my head like a grape. So going on to the linebacker room, again, not really a ton of surprises here. Mauigoa didn't really do as much as I thought he would, but they weren't going to cut Mauigoa. I think he'll end up eventually, in my opinion, taking over from McCrary Ball and being the third linebacker there. But I still would have liked to see a little bit more than we did. Obviously, Cam Jones, new guy, Zaire Barnes, tenuous at best grip on this roster spot. Jamarcus Weston will be a core special teamer when he's back. We don't know when he's going to be back. We think maybe 3-4 weeks, but we don't know there. The secondary.
Whoa. Let's not jump past the linebacker room like that. Hold on. I got some thoughts.
Okay.
I got some thoughts.
You got some thoughts?
Jamin Davis, surprise release. That was not expected. Jamin Davis was Jamin Davis was the penciled-in front runner to be the starting weak side linebacker, which is a position that I think is going to play a lot in this defense. So Davis getting cut was a surprise. Possibly shouldn't have been as big of a surprise as it was, considering he did play in the preseason finale. And notably, I will point out that Marcelino McCrary Ball did not. So that kind of should have been our first inkling that McCrary Ball is probably going to make the team and Davis might not. McCrary Ball is likely going to be your starting weak side linebacker. He's also a core special teamer. I don't think Mauigoa is going to take that role. I think they view Mauigoa as their backup Mike linebacker. I don't think they view him as like a Will. So I think he's more likely to I think if Sherwood were to miss time, I think Mauigoa immediately is the starter. Whereas I think if Quincy misses time, I think it's McCrary Ball that steps in as the starter. That would be my prediction. And then Cam Jones, we didn't mention him. Fun addition. He's a former undrafted rookie with the Chiefs, who spent the last 2 years in Kansas City, has played all 34 possible games over the last 2 years. Mainly a special teamer, a very good one at that. I believe it was Michael Nani on Twitter that pointed out that his 90.0 PFF special teams grade was sixth best amongst all players in the NFL last year. So he is a core special teamer, has also played some defensive snaps. I think he's like 80 plus defensive snaps each of the last 2 years. That's a good addition. And honestly, I think Cam Jones has a better chance to take over as the Will than McCrary Ball. And I see no reason why he can't potentially be that guy for the Jets, as well as being a core special teamer. But like we mentioned, Zaire Barnes, yeah, he's probably gone. I think he's probably not making the team. I know he made the initial 53-man roster. I don't expect him to be in the week 1 roster. And they bring back Jackson Sermon and Aaron Boog Smith, the South Carolina State native or product, who, by the way, also, that school also produced Shaq Leonard, former 3-time.
I just don't try outside of Boog Powell. I don't know if I'm a lot of guys.
South Carolina State's got a good track record of linebackers. Darius or
Boogie Cousins and Boog Powell. That's where my Boog loyalty.
What other bad Boogs are there?
I don't know. Just something about that name doesn't inspire confidence. I don't know why.
Well, those guys are on the practice squad. I like Sermon, by the way. Sermon had a good summer with the Jets. He was with the practice squad last year too. And then, like you mentioned, Weston. I do think Weston will be on the active roster once he recovers. I had him on my initial 53-man prediction, and I think he would have been there had he not suffered an injury. He got hurt in the last preseason game. But I like Weston. He's going to be another special teamer. So honestly, looking at that, because of the Cam Jones addition and when Weston comes back, I think McCrary Ball, even though right now he's probably penciled in as a starting Will, I think McCrary Ball could get the squeeze, and I think he could be the odd man out once Weston gets back. Anyway, that's my linebacker spiel. There's always stuff to talk about with each of these position groups.
Secondary. This room is a lot thinner than I thought it would be.
I agree.
Now, Justin was, I will say, more up in arms than I was about not keeping Jark Bernard-Converse, who again is with the Browns, by the way, so his career is done. So I'm sorry there, but
rip.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Throw a party? But Looking at this right now, I will say, before I go into this, I've heard different pronunciations. Is it Azariah or Azarie?
I believe it's Azarie.
Azarie? Okay.
Yeah, Azarie
I've heard people say Azariah.
I think those people are wrong.
Okay. So Azarie Thomas.
Yeah.
He joined the projected starters there, Sauce Gardner, Brandon Stevens, and Michael Carter. They have a dime, Quantez Stiggers.
Yep.
And then Azarie Thomas is your backup outside cornerback. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's the cornerback room. Now, I know that Malachi Moore in college did kind of like this nickel-y safety hybrid thing, and he's looked amazing in the preseason. But
he had a good preseason.
If we're operating on he's going to be a traditional safety, which might be needed because I thought Andre Sisco looked really bad in the preseason. I don't think he has a very firm grip on a starting job.
And Tony Adams is Tony Adams.
Adams is Tony Adams. I mean, if that happens and he has to play more of like a traditional safety, this room, while I think it's very good because Sauce is unbelievable and Stevens looks better and Michael Carter looks like he is his old self after being injured all last year, there's really not a lot of depth. One injury, I think, could really throw this thing for a loop. Maybe Isaiah Oliver gets more. He used to be a cornerback. Maybe they move him back for a little bit, but it's not particularly inspiring.
No, and that's why I'm very much upset about the Jark Bernard-Converse cut. I don't think this is a case of like, the Brandon Smith where, if Brandon Smith made the 53, I don't think he's active on game days. I think Bernard-Converse is the fourth best corner on this Jets roster right now. I don't know what Azarie Thomas is. He didn't particularly flash in the summer and then he got hurt. So that is a complete, obviously you expect more from him long term, but as of right now, I see no reason why I would rank him ahead of Jark Bernard-Converse. And I think Bernard-Converse is absolutely a better player than Quantez Stiggers, at least a better corner. So if this was my world, if this was my Jets roster and I was making the decisions, Bernard-Converse not only makes the team, but he's your starting dime corner. I said that a week ago. That would have been my decision. Obviously that is not the case, and Bernard-Converse has been let go and he has been picked up by the Browns. And I'm hopeful that he's going to have a good career. I want to see the best for him because he's a very good player. That cut is questionable to me. He had a 90-something PFF grade last year. Every time we've seen him on the field, he is impressed. There's literally never been a time where I've watched Jark Bernard-Converse play football in a preseason game or a regular season game and come away thinking this guy can't play at the NFL level. I think he was the fourth best corner on the Jets roster. Had another really good preseason this year. I think he allowed 2 catches on 7 total targets, 82.7 PFF coverage grade, 82.9 overall grade, also an 80 tackle grade. He's a good tackler. He's a great cover guy. I think it's very silly that he is not on this 53-man roster, but that's besides the point at this point. Now we're looking at the guys they got. I am concerned about their outside corner depth. I am not particularly encouraged by Quantez Stiggers probably being their top outside corner if Sauce Gardner or Brandon Stevens goes down. I know, again, fans want to see Azarie Thomas. I will say this. I said this before. I think it's still true. I think there's a good chance that he is a healthy scratch to start the year. It's less likely now since they brought up or they let go of Bernard-Converse, but I still think there's a very good chance that he is a healthy scratch to begin the year. He just missed too much time this summer and didn't particularly flash when he was out there. So right now your outside corners are Stiggers, who I don't think is a particularly good high-end backup. I think he's a worse Brandon Eccles or whatever. I don't know, whatever you want to call him. And then Thomas, who barely played this summer. Their nickel depth is fine because if Michael Carter misses time, they have Jordan Clark on the practice squad, who is, that was undrafted rookie at Notre Dame. He is exclusively a nickel player, but I don't even think he would be the top guy. I think it'd be either Malachi Moore or Isaiah Oliver, who both have played nickel a lot. Isaiah Oliver played a lot of slot corner.
Oliver was a cornerback until recently.
He was. And then he played like half the year had slot corner last year. So I think, it's possible they also view him as an outside corner. So maybe if Gardner, so like say Gardner and Stevens go down, who's your dime corner? There's literally not a candidate for that on the roster or even on the practice squad at this time. That's my concern. Like they don't have an outside corner in the practice squad. Now, obviously, I assume they will add somebody.
Brian Sternbeck really quick says, I'm nervous right now with Gardner not practicing.
Right. Sauce is also still dealing with that calf injury, and he did not practice today. You assume he'll be ready for week 1, but that is something to keep an eye on. And as Jets fans know firsthand, calf injuries are not something to mess around with. I don't want to speak anything to existence, but Aaron Rodgers famously suffered a calf injury in the spring. And then a few months later, disaster struck. So you don't want to mess around.
With Quinnen this offseason too.
Quinnen is also dealing with a calf injury. I don't know if he practiced today. I think he did. I didn't see any report that he didn't. But yeah, I'm concerned about the outside corner depth on this roster, which is dumb. I shouldn't be because they had really good corner depth. and they let the guy walk. I also don't think
well, like, is that enough to change your whole, just because they don't have JBC, you went from I'm really excited about this room to now I'm concerned just because of
no, I was excited about the depth, and now I'm concerned about the depth. Not the room as a whole, but I was happy. I was happy with the depth that they had. I thought that they had 6 good NFL caliber corners on the roster. Now they have 5, and I think that's a mistake. And I think that they really need that extra depth. If they got Bernard Converse in the practice squad, I wouldn't have been upset. Like if they stuck him into the practice squad, it'd be the same deal as if he was on the 53, because you'd have an extra guy to plug in there in case of injury. Looking at the guys they had in preseason this summer, I don't think any of those guys are NFL like Mario Goodrich. Who the hell are they going to bring in? Like there was nobody else in that cornerback room that particularly, unless I'm forgetting someone, Jarius Monroe would have been that guy, but he also got hurt. Monroe was released with an injury settlement. So for those who don't know, I put this out on Twitter. It's like a weird quirk. With the injury settlement, he technically, for the Jarius Monroe stands out there, he technically could still re-sign with the Jets at some point this year. He first has to, basically it has to be, so he's free to sign with any team right now for starters. He's free to sign with any team he wants to, but he's currently injured. He was released with that injury settlement, and he's able to re-sign with the Jets once the length of that settlement expires, plus an additional 3 weeks. We do not know the length of that injury settlement. That was not released publicly. It is generally the expected time that he's going to miss due to the injury. So in theory, they could bring back Jarius Monroe at some point, but that won't be for X number of weeks. That won't be for a while. So yeah, I am concerned about the cornerback depth. Brian mentions, I believe Bryce Hall was released by the Bucs. Yeah, I did see he was released. I don't see if he was signed to a practice squad. I don't know if he was, but I assume he wasn't, I guess, at this point. If he's out there, would love a reunion with Bryce Hall. Although I guess that would be kind of 2 boundary exclusive corners who don't play specials in him and Azareye'h Thomas. So that might be a little conflict there. But
you think they may just force Azareye'h onto specials at some point?
I don't think they need to. I think they have enough guys who can play specials, because normally you're looking at your corners to be your gunners. I don't think they're to need that. I think that'll be Jamarcus Weston when he comes back. And obviously it's Quantez Stiggers right now. I think starting the year, it's probably going to be Stiggers and Kene Nwangwu. I think those are probably going to be your gunners. They also have Malachi Moore who could do that. They have Isaiah Oliver who could do that. I don't think they need Thomas to play specials, but if he can, that'd be great. If he can, then that's his path to being active on game days right now. Like he does not have a path to being active on game days unless he's playing special teams.
I'm looking at this safety room because the special teams is everybody we expected, Folk, McNamara, and Hennessy. I'm looking at this safety room. I would, at this point now, I'm going to plant my flag. I would be surprised if at the end of the year, both Andre Cisco and Tony Adams are the 2 starters. I think eventually Malachi Moore supplants one of them.
Fair take. I agree. Malachi Moore had a really good summer. You see the flashes with him. There's still the growing pains. The tackling needs to be cleaned up. He's given me shades of Jordan Whitehead with the way he plays a little bit, like throwing his body around recklessly and not wrapping up. We saw that in the preseason, but the coverage instincts are there. Dude hits hard. And I think he's going to force his way onto the field one way or another. I think he is their top backup defensive back. I think if there's a corner injury, he probably forces his way onto the field in some way. And if there's a safety injury, I think he does as well. Maybe they view Isaiah Oliver ahead of Moore. I don't know. I view Moore right now as ahead of Oliver in that regard. I think he's more likely to replace Adams, but you mentioned Cisco had a tough summer. It was really just that one play, like the tough preseason. It was the one play.
Well, other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play?
Well, he played like 10 snaps. Like he played.
Yeah, and then and they were bad enough where we consider it important to mention.
It's an extremely small sample size. I'm not like concerned about Cisco. I think he's still their best safety, which it's a low bar. It's not a very good safety room, but I do still think he's probably their best safety on this roster right now. I think Moore would have a better chance of probably supplanting Tony Adams in that room. And I like Isaiah Oliver. I think they have 4 solid NFL safeties. I'm not particularly concerned with this room. They also brought back Dean Clark, who they've been all over since the pre-draft process. They brought him in for a top 30 visit.
Yeah, I'm surprised he went undrafted.
Yeah, undrafted rookie out of Fresno State. By the way, S.A. Pole, back to S.A. Pole. The Jets also brought him in as a top 30 visit before the draft, which is why, well, cheap plug here, the Jet Press put out a waiver wire like targets for the Jets earlier this morning, and 2 of the guys on that list, there was only 10 players listed. 2 of them were claimed by the Jets, S.A. Pole and or Esapole and Jelani Woods. So that makes it 2 years in a row, because last year we had Brendan Bates on the list, and the Jets did claim Brendan Bates. Now I'm hoping that Jelani Woods
Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, I think he actually also might be the Browns. I think he just re-signed with the Browns. Browns getting a lot of spotlight on this.
You are correct. He's on the Browns.
There you go. Look at that.
But he was on the Browns in 2024, so they just kept
he was. I believe they cut him and just re-signed him, I think is what they just did. They just
didn't seen anything about a cut.
They just did some roster transaction with him. I saw the update on my phone. It was something. I saw his name.
Him and Shedeur Sanders hooking up, which that's surprising. I thought they were on purposely. I thought they were on purposely calling bad plays to make Shedeur Sanders look bad. Can we talk about a take that's buying from 6-year-olds that is somehow now like?
Yeah.
You know what would happen to an NFL team if they found out they were purposely sabotaging a draft, which makes them look bad anyway.
Right. It was very funny being like, he's playing in the fourth quarter, he's playing in the fourth quarter of the final preseason game. And people are like, oh, he's got 4 of his 5 offensive linemen.
He's being set up to fail. He's playing against fourth stringers.
Right. It's like 4 of his 5 offensive linemen were cut. Well, guess what? Like 9 of the 11 players he was playing against were probably also cut. Like,
yeah,
it's all they're all
I want him to succeed, but like,
I agree.
It's getting to a point. There are 3 fan bases. It's Tebow, it's either Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese.
Yeah.
And Shedeur fans, where it's like I'm seeing takes that I've never seen before.
Which sucks because it's not any of the players involved's fault.
Yeah, Shedeur's. I mean, like I know that people think he's got this personality, but like every quote I've seen from him on the Browns has been like, I'm excited, I'm working hard, I got to do better. It's like stuff you want him to say.
Right. He's certainly not deserving of this level of media coverage.
He got a speeding ticket. Oh, don't act like you've never gone above the speed limit. Give me a break.
And it's unfortunate because like that's probably a large reason why he did fall to the 5th round in the draft, because teams didn't want to deal with this nonsense, and I don't blame them. Imagine if the Jets drafted Shedeur Sanders. Imagine what the coverage.
Imagine if Shedeur Sanders played like Brady Cook.
Right. Oh my God. If he played like Brady Cook, he'd be crowned.
If he had the same stats against Adrian Martinez and he played after him, they want Adrian Martinez
Adrian Martinez would be getting death threats. Like, it'd be
my God, yeah,
nuts. See, I honestly, I feel for Dylan Gabriel because neither of us.
He's the backup quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, and like nobody likes him.
Neither of us were particularly high on Dylan Gabriel coming out of the draft. I'm still hesitant that he's going to be a genuine NFL backup, or let alone a starter. Right, and 3rd round was kind of crazy, but like he's actually had a pretty solid summer. He's done okay, and he earned a backup job, and yet he's universally hated by a large portion of people.
Like before we end the show, like just think about this. All right, so we're gonna take a player. We're gonna use a 5th round draft pick on a player. Now, instead of just not playing him, and then getting rid of him as some sort of, or just not drafting him, we're gonna use a draft pick that could be used to pick another good player. And not only that, we're going to on purpose tell offensive linemen not to block and call bad plays so that he gets sacked. And then he looks bad, which also makes us look bad because he's our player, because we don't want this guy to succeed.
Yeah.
Like think about it, people.
Well, what's
come back to Earth, to planet Earth.
What's crazy is obviously, look, we're on the internet enough, Mike, to know that there's an opinion for everything. But
in the old days, people would go, "That's stupid. How could you be so stupid?" Well, now there's hundreds of people agreeing with you.
Well, people are saying it's stupid. We're saying it's stupid. Others are agreeing with us. There's a lot of people who think it's stupid.
Too many are. That's the problem.
What's crazy to me is, again, there's going to be an opinion for everything. But there's somebody out there who is the biggest Max Mitchell stan who thinks he's a top 5 offensive tackle in the NFL.
Oh my God! Look at the quotes on Corley.
Right.
Yeah.
That person might be related to Max Mitchell. I don't know. Maybe it's Max Mitchell himself. I don't know. There are stands out there for everybody. There's going to be people that have any opinion. The craziest part about it to me is there are national NFL reporters who are
leading first take these things,
who are echoing these sentiments, saying that the Browns are setting, Shedeur up to fail, who are intentionally sabotaging him. Genuine NFL, like national insiders saying this. That is bonkers.
By the way, they just signed Bailey Zappi to the practice squad, so they got another quarterback in the mix.
Well, Zappi's gonna be hated now too.
Oh, the Zap man!
Wait till Flacco misses time due to injury, and they elevate Zappi, and he's active as QB2 over Sanders. Imagine!
That would be okay. Well, all right, here's the thing. Look, Shedeur's gonna play this year. I know we're talking about the Brown. Whatever, it's funny.
He might.
But imagine just as a goof. Because they know they're going to be bad. They're probably going to take a guy who's going to be the quarterback anyway next year, like Arch or Drew Aller or Lenore Sellers or whoever like that. Imagine if they were just like, okay, you know what? He's not going to be our guy. Let's just see what happens. Like, let's just get a rise out of people.
Let's just throw him out there and see what happens.
No, like let's just put Bailey Zappi up there and just.
Yeah. Like, well, it did feel a little
just to irritate people.
I will say in that last preseason game when they took Sanders out just for he played the whole game. And then they take him out for the 2-minute drill just for
Tyler Huntley, and he moves the ball fine and wins the game.
That part felt funny to me, where I was like, and I don't like, I get what I'm not saying they did that to spite Sanders, and obviously that's not what they did. They did it because Huntley is another quarterback on the roster, and even if he wasn't going to make the team, it's common courtesy to at least give him some snaps there. I get why they did that, but that seemed pretty funny to me. That it was like, Sanders, you played the whole game, and right with the game on the line, well, let's put in the 8-year vet or whatever, the former Pro Bowler, I might add, Tyler Huntley.
So with that, we'll wrap out the Jet Press podcast. After that little soliloquy, we did look at the 53-man roster, and we gave our thoughts on it. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. You know where to find us on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. And Justin, feel free to sign us off.
What are, real quick, before we go off, what are your biggest surprises from this Jets roster? Super quick. If you had to pick one or two things, biggest surprises.
That no undrafted guys made it.
That is pretty crazy. That's a good shout, because I will say this.
I would have bet money that Pritchett would have made it, but
I will say, well, I think Weston.
He's the most surprising when I heard that he didn't make it.
Weston, I think, was going to make it if he didn't get hurt. So that, that's kind of would be one guy. But I noticed this on Twitter too. With the Jets' initial 17-man practice squad last year, only one member of their undrafted rookie class made it. It was Jarius Monroe. Granted, 3 undrafted rookies made the 53-man roster to the 3 defensive linemen, but only one of those 17 players was an undrafted player. This year, 8 of the, I think, 11 or 12 announced players, I think it's 12, 8 of the 12 announced players so far are members of the Jets' undrafted rookie class. So a lot of guys made the practice squad, just not the 53. My biggest surprise was Marquise Hayes, and I guess currently 11 offensive linemen. Now, again, that's going to change, but I don't think anybody had Hayes making it. Shout out to Marquise Hayes, though. He had a good summer. But anyway, until next time, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeLuciano. Follow me on Twitter, Justin T. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get podcasts. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also check us out on TikTok. We've been posting to TikTok again, so check us out there. They're also reposted on YouTube Shorts, so if you're just a YouTube person, you can check there as well. Also, you can become a member today. Thank you once again to Austrian Jets fan who donated 20 memberships earlier today. So much appreciated. Brian said JBC. Yes, I don't even know if that was one of my biggest surprises. That was definitely the thing that I was most upset about that. I was more upset about that than Gibson over Pritchett, by the way. But yeah, you guys know what to do. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That's Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
See you folks next week.